Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. It is now the first video of 2025. This year has just been average at best already, but it's only a few days in and it will definitely get better. But one thing I have given myself this year is to start reading books again. I haven't read books regularly since 2019 to 2020. I was barreling through them. It's when I got back into reading, thank you Rick Riordan, and I've kind of just been missing out on all of these cool new worlds to go into, and I have loads of books on my bookshelf, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna make an effort this year to read some books. And I've read two already. First one being Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files Stormfront, which will be getting a video out on the channel soon. I did a bit of a reading blog. I'm also going to do a review of it because I have a lot of thoughts on that. I also reread Percy Jackson and Sea of Monsters because I reread the first book last year, so I thought, hey, why not reread the book that got me into reading in the first place? And I'm currently reading Dune. I'm on the audiobook, so I'm not reading the actual physical book because I had to leave that back at home. Now I'm back at uni. But without further ado, let's start off with the books that I want to read in 2025.
I don't know why, it doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind, I'm designed to try to explain in due time.
So the first book that I want to read in 2025 is The Way of Kings. Way of Kings is written by Brandon Sanderson. He is one of the most popular authors for fantasy right now, especially high fantasy. And I have read the first 200 pages of this book about 4 years ago now, I think. It might be less than that, but time, memory, what's that? So as I said, I read 200 pages, and it's not that I didn't enjoy those 200 pages. I really enjoyed them. I loved it from start to end of part one. I fucking loved it. And then when we get to part two, that's where we introduce two new characters, Dalinar and Adolin. And Dalinar's opening is really, really long, and there's so much info dumping, there's so much exposition, there's so many new characters introduced, and a lot was going on, and it was just a bit of a slog to get through. So I DNF'd it. I wish I didn't because, again, as I said, part one, absolutely fucking loved. Kaladin, fucking incredible character. Shallan, fucking love her too. But I just kind of dropped off. But this year, I want to get back into it. I haven't read any of other Brandon Sanderson's books. I tried reading Final Empire. I did enjoy the 20 or so pages that I read, and I just got distracted by shiny things, aka filmmaking and uni. But yeah, I want to read all of Way of Kings. I'm probably going to separate out the Stormlight Archive between other Brandon Sanderson books, because there is no way I'm reading the 5,000 plus pages that is the Stormlight Archive in one go. That's not going to happen. The next book on the list that I want to get to in 2025 is Joe Abercrombie's The Blade itself, aka First Law Trilogy. I don't think I'm going to read all of First Law this year, but I want to at least read the first book, because I went to Waterstones the other day with my sister, and she said she'd buy me a book because it was like Christmas, you know, Happy New Year kind of thing. So I spent about an hour in the bookshop deciphering every book that I had on my TBR. I went through Jade City, I went through a bunch of Brandon Sanderson books, I went through this, especially Joe Abercrombie's later books, The Trouble with Peace and all that, and I ended up selecting this one because I looked up with his second series, there's a lot of callbacks and references to this, and I thought I'm probably not going to enjoy it as much as I probably will because I read the first page of it and I fucking loved it. So I thought, pick this up. I read the first page, loved it, so I'm excited to get to reading this. So yeah. So the next books, I should say, on my list is more Stephen King. I just want to read a bunch of Stephen King this year. I read The Dark Tower last year, the first book, Gunslinger, and I fucking loved it. And I want to read more. I'm around halfway through Misery from the audiobook, and I haven't listened to it in a little while, so I need to restart it to like remind myself on what's going on. And I'll probably be reading it from this massive hardback, which has The Shining and Carrie in it too. Carrie's really short, Shining is about 400 pages, so I could probably get through this in about a week or so if I put my mind to it. And also Salem's Lot, which I brought with me because I was going to read this before the new adaptation came out. I ended up not doing that, shockingly. And the adaptation is shit apparently. So dodge that bullet. And continuing on the trend for horror, I need to finish Silence of the Lambs. I started reading this last summer, and in one sitting I got through 80 pages, which I never usually do. I'm not a fast reader, I'm very slow, but this was a genuine page turner. The main character, I can't remember her name for the life of me. It's only been like 4 months, but I really like the main character, she's really interesting. I find Hannibal Lecter to be very cringe. I find him to be cringe in the film, I find him to be cringe in this. It's just a very kind of showy, kind of edgy type of serial killer, and it's just kind of boring just to see it happen over and over and over. I don't know if this started it or not, but fucking hell, it's boring. It's just edgy for edgy's sake. But I will say I have enjoyed these 80 pages a lot, and I need to continue because it's a really fucking good book. The next book on my list is Sabriel by Garth Nix. This, again, is another series. I have a lot of series here, and that's going to be fun to juggle when I do eventually get through all of these. But Sabriel, the reason why I want to read this is because I have seen it on my sibling's bookshelf, over the majority of my life. It's just been there. I've tried to read this in the past, and it was just the wrong time because I feel like now I've kind of grown up enough to the point where I kind of know how storytelling works a lot more. 2 years ago, I wouldn't be able to say that. Now I can, which is why I really enjoyed the first book in the Dresden Files. I tried reading that several years ago, couldn't get into it. Now I love it. So I'm hoping it's the same kind of scenario with this, where I read it and I fucking love it. And a quick pause from books that I want to read. I kind of had a kind of moment at the start of this year when I was like, it doesn't matter how many pages the book is, as long as you read it and enjoy it, that's what matters. So I'm taking on Way of Kings, I'm taking on Dune currently, which is 600 plus pages. I haven't read a book that long. The closest book I've read to that is The House of Hades, but with that, it's a mid-grade book and it's quite easy. So, but yeah, I've kind of just decided and kind of put off that idea of long books are too scary and short books are easy to read, which was my mentality, and the reason why I went to comics and manga for so long is because I didn't feel like I could achieve that, but now I can, finishing these books and reading Dune. It's a lot easier. But the next one is also a series, but these are episodic, so doesn't really matter, is the Stargate SG-1 books. I have several of them, and these are the only ones that I have in chronological order when the show came out, which starts off with Sacrifice Moon, which I have started. It's a little... It's not great to start off with, but I will say the author Julie Fortune has done a stupendous job of bringing these characters we love from the screen to the page. Daniel acts like Daniel, O'Neill acts like O'Neill, same with Teal'c and Carter. Everyone is their characters as described and shown in the show, down to a T. And this is like set like 2 days after the second episode of the show. And it's already just amazing, which could potentially screw up with show to book, but these are not canon, so it doesn't matter, so they can just be their characters that are established. So I'm looking forward to reading those. They are very short. The first book is 200 pages, and the next few kind of are around the area. I believe one of them is 500 pages, which I'm very intrigued by. I did forget to mention that for the Stephen King books, I will also be reading In the Tall Grass, which is a short story. I've read some of it, it's not the best, but it's Stephen King nonetheless, and it's something else that I can read and just dig my teeth into. I'm 16 pages into it out of the 80, and it's weirdly enough really slow to get through, and I don't know why, but it is also written by Joe Hill, so I don't know what that means, but either one of them is shit at their job, and it probably is Stephen King. So the next book on my list I don't unfortunately have with me, so you're going to have to see a wonderful image around here, and that is Robert Jordan's The Eye of the World, aka the Wheel of Time series. I have started to read this already, but that was 3 years ago now, in 2021 Christmas time, and I got through 300 pages of the book, and then I stopped for some reason, and I don't know why I stopped. I think it might have been the show being really shitty and kind of just put me off from reading the series, even though I've heard the series is incredible, even with the slog that happens halfway through. But yeah, I actually want to go back to this series because I keep seeing Daniel Green talk about it all the time, and so many other YouTubers that I really like, and I feel like I have to give it that second chance. Not that I didn't like what I read the first time around, I fucking loved it. Lan is one of my favourite characters just in general. Rand is an interesting character, Gawain is interesting, the Aes Sedai. There's so much lore in the first book, but it goes like so quickly that I feel like I'm gonna get through those 900 pages like that. So yeah, it's a 15-book series, but I'm willing to read that. And speaking of Daniel Green, I also want to try and read Rebel's Creed this year. I read Breach of Peace, I read that when it came out. Literally, when it arrived, I read it in a day because I wanted to see if he was good enough of an author. And rereading bits of Breach of Peace now, it's a bit shit, not gonna lie. No offense, Daniel, you're probably not watching this video, but if you are, Breach of Peace is not the best, man. I feel like a lot of the writing and storytelling is very, very like, I don't know, you can tell it's a first time author, so I'm not gonna shit on it too much because the first time I read it, I loved it to bits. There were issues from what I remember, but I enjoyed my time, and I read the first 10 pages a week ago and I hated it. Waiting for my flatmates to leave. So yeah, I want to read Rebel's Creed. I also want to read his other book, Neon Ghosts, which I have the audiobook of, and I'm hoping I enjoy these more because I really did like the characters in Breach of Peace, so I'm hoping I like them in Rebel's Creed too. So quick cut in here, I forgot to add this at the beginning, but there is another book series that I want to get to this year, and that is Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files. I read the first book at the very beginning of this year. It's the first book that I read this year. I really enjoyed it. I have my issues with it, which I get into my review, but I'm looking forward to diving deeper into this world. I only have the second book, Full Moon, and the third book, Grave Peril. I will be looking at buying the rest of the series, but I'm going to do that much later on because I've got a lot of books to get through, and I have these, and I think these will keep me company. I have heard there is another slog that happens in this series, which is a very common theme with a lot of the books that I have, but these do get really good apparently, similarly with Wheel of Time and a bunch of other books. But if these are the same quality as the first book, I'm going to have the time of my life. I read the first book in about 3 or 4 days. I could probably do the same with these, but I may take my time with these as there's a lot of them, so I don't want to rush through them. I also just love the world and I love these characters. Dresden is an incredibly flawed character, which is why I really like him. It did get to the point when I was reading the first book and I was like, oof, like, this guy's a prick. But I'm excited to see him develop in the future books, and see more of this world because I love the White Council. They're very interesting from the bits that we've seen. Morgan is a really interesting character, especially Dresden, and a bunch of other people in this. It felt very real, so yeah. And the second to last book on this list, that is the Farseer trilogy, Royal Assassin. Now, I have read Assassin's Apprentice. I enjoyed bits of it. I didn't enjoy all of it because there's like a massive slog that happens. I can't remember where, it's either in the second or the third act, and then randomly picks up the pace like a fucking whirlwind for no reason, and then ends. And that's the book. And not gonna lie, I didn't really like all of Assassin's Apprentice, and I really did not like that ending. I thought it was a very contrived way to end the book and for the twist to happen. Twist. It's not even a twist. It's the most obvious fucking thing that happens, and it's just boring. It's so shit. I wish it was better, but I've heard so many good things about these later books, and people who had the same exact feeling I have enjoyed the later books. So I'm gonna give Royal Assassin a go at some point. It'll probably be towards the end of the year, I don't know. But I hope I enjoy the other books more than Assassin's Apprentice, because I love Fitz so much. I love Fitz, I love the Fool, I love so many characters in that novel. I just really despise that. But I want to continue because, you know, maybe I'll like the later books. Maybe I'll grow to like the twist that happens. Who knows? And then the last book on the list that I want to read in 2025 is All Systems Red, The Murderbot Diaries, written by Martha Wells. Now this is another book that I tried to read when it came out, didn't like it, then very recently revisited the first page, because you can read some pages of books online for free until a certain point. Read the first page, and past me was really dumb, because that first page is insanely funny and just really good storytelling. So I'm gonna read All Systems Red this year. It might be higher up on my TBR than lower, but I know there's so many other books that I want to get to. I don't know when I will get to All Systems Red, but it looks like a very good series. It's like 7 books or something, and there's more coming out, and there's also a TV show, so I kind of want to be prepared for the show. And with all that being said, thank you for watching this video. I do have several videos planned to come out very soon after this one. I've got a few vlogs, I've got a few reviews, a few reading vlogs, a couple gaming videos, but that will be later down the line because editing takes a lot of time and uni is starting soon, and I currently have a deadline that I need to do, but currently can't because uni is closed. So that's my dilemma. So I'm reading a bunch of books in the meantime and editing videos for you guys. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and goodbye.